We're back with actress Reneé Lawless, and also joining us is our wellness key specialist, Dr. Sharmini Long. Now, Reneé, you've mentioned that the year 2020 you refer to as the 3 C's.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
November 2020, we found out my show of 8 years was canceled.
Oh.
C
So that
number
was-
one.
Yeah.
My birthday that year, which was the end of November, I got COVID. C number two. Now, it's okay. I was pretty much asymptomatic. It wasn't, for me, a horrible experience.
Good.
And then in 2021, the beginning of 21, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. C, cancer number one. So it was the 3 C's. Cancel, COVID, cancer.
That's 3 whammies in a row.
Right.
How did that affect you immediately?
Well, the whole time I went through my cancer and all of its treatments, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, I always was like, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I didn't have breast cancer. And as long as I kept that up front, that doesn't mean I didn't slip ever so often, but as long as I kept that attitude, it made the whole process so much easier. Because there was always an end game at that point.
Yeah.
Sure.
There was never a, oh, you're going to die, or no. That was not even an option. That was not open to debate. I always knew I was going to be cancer-free, always.
So how were you diagnosed? Did you find something?
I had a mammogram. No, as a matter of fact, I would never have noticed it on a mammogram. It was that small. And I thought it was ductal carcinoma in situ, which it was, but I thought it was non-invasive. I just gave y'all a little medical lesson.
You
Dr.
did. That
Long
was
can
great.
help you with that. And the only tears that were really shed after that was I really thought I was going to lose my hair. Isn't that weird? People are all worried about their boobs or the cancer or dying, and I'm like, I don't want to lose my hair. The whole thing was about my hair.
Awesome.
Even when the doctors came in and I had a full head of hair, they were like, is that really yours? And I went, mm-hmm. And they're like, oh.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, oh.
Yeah.
So I took steps to not to have that happen.
So what steps were those?
I wore cold caps. These are flat caps that are held in dry ice at negative 32 degrees centigrade. And in 8 hours on treatment day, there's a whole prep underneath. You interchange these every 25 minutes for
Oh, wow.
8 hours. It starts an hour and a half before the actual chemo drug goes in, and then it goes through the whole time you're going through chemo and then several hours after. And so my best friend, Leslie Marr, she drove up from 3 hours away. She lived in San Diego, and she took me to all my treatments, and she spent 8 hours prepping and changing every cap for 8 hours.
It's so great to have support through a time like this. Did you have any other support?
Oh, yes. I have an amazing life group through my church. We would just call it a Bible study group.
Yeah.
And these ladies, which I had known for about a year or so prior, rallied together. I got very sick in the middle of treatment, had to go in the hospital. And my friends kind of, because I live alone, and they kind of threw it down and said, you were not going to be alone anymore. And my life group ladies took a schedule, and for 5 days after every treatment, they came to my home.
Isn't
And they
that
fed me,
wonderful?
they cooked for me. And then even after my surgery, they made a schedule, and for 1 month, they lived with me. Different women lived with me. They cooked. I couldn't get out of bed on my own. I couldn't do anything on my own. I had drainage tubes, all of that. They saw my medicine. They did the dirty work. Some people wouldn't even want to do some of that dirty work. They got up close and personal with me very quickly.
Yes,
Very quickly.
I'd say.
And but I'm forever grateful. I tell people my life group saved my life.
Yes.
So loved by so many people to come and
Oh,
do that.
thank you. And by me wearing cold caps and saving my hair, yes, I'm going to admit part of it was vanity. It's just the way it is. But also, I was now able to control the narrative. Nobody that came into contact with me, unless I chose to tell them, knew that I was going through cancer. No one. And so I went public with it right after my last treatment. And my phone blew up, everything. What? But this way I was able to control this on my own. Sadly, the public, they didn't treat me any different because they didn't know. But
Yeah. Why do you think that you chose to go through this without making it public?
I didn't know how it would be perceived by my industry. I didn't know if A, they would be afraid to cast me.
Yeah.
B, how it would affect, because all actors were bonded when we get on shows, how it would affect insurance. Did they think I would get sick if they did cast me?
Yeah.
I didn't want it to adversely affect that perception. Now, the sad part about it is I have a handicap placard. And I'm walking around with a full head of hair, even though it's falling out at my house every single day, because I lost about 40%.
Yeah.
And, you know, you pull in a handicapped space and they've got a placard, and people see you get out of a car and they're thinking, well, she's walking, talking, and breathing just fine. But they don't know how much energy it took me to get from that handicapped spot to that grocery store door or whatever door I was walking in. Because my energy tanked immediately. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Chemo is horrific.
It is. Yeah.
It is horrific. It is horrific.
What
You
you
never
might
know
be
what the
going
person
through.
sitting next to you is going through. Just because they're not bald,
Yeah.
just because it's, you don't know what they're going through.
Absolutely.
And we need to be more patient with them.